This video looks at the sine rule. The sine rule is another rule for finding out an unknown sine or unknown angle in a triangle. It says that in any triangle, A over sine A equals B over sine B equals C over sine C. When a triangle is labelled for this, side little a is the side which is opposite angle big A, and side little b the side opposite angle big B, and so on. The way to understand this formula is by realising that it's any side of the triangle over the sine of the angle opposite it is equal to any other side over the sine of the angle opposite. Let's have a look in the context of a worked example. We wish to find side x, so we can say that side x over the sine of the angle opposite it. So x over the sine of 72 is equal to 4.2 over the sine of the angle opposite. So it's 4.2 over the sine of angle 54. Once you've got that set up, it's just a matter of transposing to make x the subject. In this case, we've got x divided by the sine of 72. And we want to get rid of that sine 72 on the bottom. So we're going to do the opposite of dividing by the sine of 72, which is multiplying both sides by the sine of 72. We'll get an expression for x, which we can evaluate on our calculator to find the answer. A couple of other points. The first is, you may be wondering, why do we need another rule for finding out unknown sides and angles in a triangle? Well, not all questions will come out using the cosine rule, and that's why we need the sine rule for some. In general terms, you would use the sine rule in a question which involves two sides and two angles, whereas the cosine rule is used in questions which involve three sides and one angle. The second valuable point is this: always check your answer. The longest side is always opposite the biggest angle, and the shortest side is always opposite the smallest angle. That can help you quite a lot. Another thing that's worthwhile is try and draw your triangle in some sort of rough scale. Try and make your angles look approximately what they're supposed to be. That way you can look at your triangle when you're finished and make sure that it looks kind of reasonable. Here's a second working example. In this one, we have to find an unknown angle, but we'll set it up the same. So 5.4 over the sine of 45 is equal to 6.8 over the sine of angle theta. Now I'm going to show you an algebraic step that you may not have met before. It's called cross multiplication. When you've got one complete fraction equal to another complete fraction, you can multiply the denominator of one by the numerator of the other, and it will equal the numerator of the first multiplied by the denominator of the second, like this. That's a great way of getting rid of fractions in your equation. From there on, it's just a matter of some simple transposition to rearrange it and find out what theta is. In this first one, we can say that x over the sine of the angle opposite it, sine 59, is equal to 3.8 over the sine of the angle opposite it, sine 47. Now there's no need for cross multiplication here, because we can get x by itself simply by getting the left-hand side, and if we multiply it by the sine of 59, in fact multiply both sides by the sine of 59, we've got x by itself. So x equals 3.8 times the sine of 59 over the sine of 47, and we can work that on our calculator. X is equal to 4.45 centimetres. In this second one, you'll notice that it's very difficult to set up, because you want to say x over the sine of the angle opposite it, but we don't know that angle. So sometimes it's necessary to find out other angles before you can start doing the question. We need to find out what angle is opposite side x before we start. And we can do that quite simply because we know two other angles. And so we can work out that third one because the angles in the triangle add up to 180 degrees. Do some simple arithmetic there, and we'll find out that that angle A is equal to 55 degrees. Now we can say that x over the sine of 55 equals 7.2 over the sine of 61. And we use that angle because we know the side which is opposite it. Now we can rearrange it. This is pretty easy. It's x divided by the sine of 55. So if we simply multiply both sides by the sine of 55, we'll have an expression which we can evaluate on our calculator. x is equal to 6.74 metres. What about in this third case here? Well, if we load it up using the sine rule, we'll want to say 5.4 over the sine of 45 equals 6.8 over the sine of angle theta. Now this is the step if we want to get theta by itself where cross multiplication is really useful. If we cross multiply it now, we can say that 5.4 times the sine of theta equals 6.8 times the sine of 45. Divide both sides by 5.4 and then we can get out our calculator, find out what the sine of theta is, and then use the inverse sine to find our final value for theta. Have a go at doing some sine rule questions for yourself now.